And good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors, informing leaders, inspiring solutions. I'm Sheryl White, and I'll be your lead co-host for today, and delighted to have our co-host with us, Dr. Undraye Howard, who we affectionately call Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre, thanks for being in the house today.
Thank you.
And we have Dr. Loretta Howard with us as well. Today, we're going to be discussing boosting morale, leading with and inspiring joy. And we have two fabulous people to help us have this conversation today. We have Neema Black, and Neema is the Director of Wellness with the Neighborhood Health Association in San Diego, California. Welcome, Neema.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. I'm so happy to be here.
And it's just a joy to have you here. And Michael Cothrine, Wellness Specialist and founder and owner of Mike's Fit Family. Mike, thank you also for joining us.
Always good to be with you.
Yes. So to kind of give our audience a bit of an understanding of each of your backgrounds, in a moment, I'm going to ask each of you just to share a little bit about yourselves so we have a better understanding of the perspective that you both bring. But to start us off, we'll go to one of our audience questions. And Dr. Loretta and Dr. Dre, I'm going to ask you to respond to this fabulous question from our audience. And that is, how does a supervisor or manager authentically show up positively and cheerful when they do not sincerely feel that way? And Dr. Loretta, let's have you start us off.
Certainly will. Well, the first thing I know is that we have to pivot, as I said earlier. I think a leader, a supervisor, a manager, they always set the tone for their staff or direct reports. So first, I think we need to acknowledge that we are feeling that way. And then because of the people who we have working with us, you don't want to let them know that you're in a foul mood, but it's just maybe I'm having a challenging day today. But start thinking of things that you can do for, little successes. I'm glad to see you here today. You've been doing a great job, but be sincere when you say it. But it's okay to admit that maybe you're not having the greatest day, but you still look for those opportunities for even complimenting them. And I find out sometimes when I start talking to people just on so how are things going with this project or whatever they're doing, and hearing the little successes, it does help. And it makes me, it's like, okay, I need to put whatever I'm feeling aside right now and go on. But it does make me feel better when I hear them talk about how, they have the success or they're doing well or something. So that kind of helps me. But I do know I have to pivot from it because they don't need me being grumpy.
Thank you, Dr. Loretta. How about yourself, Dr. Dre?
I could say probably ditto to everything Dr. Loretta has stated. I would just add, I'm always trying to find those small, genuine positives, right? Look for real things that you can appreciate as a leader. Maybe it's your team members' efforts or progress on a project, folks showing up on time for work. You're really building from genuine observations, even small ones, feels more authentic than forcing enthusiasm or forcing something that you're not at that particular point in time. I also probably add, certainly acknowledging reality without dumping. I mean, you can be honest about challenges while also maintaining hope. This has been a tough week, but I appreciate everyone handling things well. Or I don't know, there's a lot on our plates right now, but I appreciate each of you. So I think certainly acknowledging reality without dumping and going negative totally. And the last thing I would always say, as we have often said, is to take care of self because we understand life is very short. So we want to live it to its fullest. And so making sure I don't deplete myself and fall into the negative category, I think is really key. So I would just add that and offer that as part to the audience question. So,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. I'll say I will ditto and express appreciation for both of your comments. There's a saying from Zig Ziglar. He always talks about gratitude being the number one medicine for reducing stress. And the good book says, if there be any good, think on these things, right? And
Yes.
so I've always thought about, how do I shift? And sometimes it is that mindful moment when we know, as you said, Dr. Loretta, we set the tone. So if I'm setting the tone for others and what's radiating from me, do I need to take a mindful minute to just shift and think about the things that I am grateful for that can then allow me to then have a true sense of Dr. Dre, I love the hope, being able to look beyond our circumstances to the possibilities and the things that I currently am grateful and thankful for. So love that. And how about our guest? Before we jump into our questions for today, do either of you want to comment on that audience question? How does a supervisor or manager authentically show up positively and cheerful when they do not sincerely feel that way?
I'll jump in. I want to absolutely echo everything that's already been said. And I think that when a supervisor lets their staff know that everything is not sunshine and rainbows all the time, but lets them know that it's a temporary situation, you actually humanize yourself to your staff, and it creates a permission structure for them to have that psychological safety to know that it's okay for them to also show up as themselves and to not be okay all the time. I think that's something that's very important when it comes to our mental health and showing up as our full selves in the workplace.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Mike, anything you'd add?
Very briefly, just same thing, diddling everybody. I was going to mention what Neema mentioned about it's a teachable moment. It allows for grace. It allows for grace. You're showing your humanness, but also still holding a sense of posture of, I may not be feeling my best, but I'm still here to do my best. And offering, opportunity for people to give you grace, which is beautiful. So it's like it's a great way to lead. It's another opportunity. It's a teachable moment for everybody on how to handle challenges.
Cool.
Great. Well, thank you to each of you for those responses, and thank you to our listening audience for sending in that question. And please feel free to send in other questions, and we'll be happy to go through them and respond. We have a second question we'll save until after we come back from our initial break. Neema, how about starting with you? We'll ask you to share a little bit about yourself so that our audience can get just a glimpse of who you are and the perspective you bring.
Well, thank you so much. I am Neema Black. I'm a native San Diegan. I've actually been a wellness advocate and practitioner long before it was a buzzword. So I have a bachelor's degree in linguistics, a master's degree in educational counseling. I have a background in human resources management. I'm also going on 18 years with NHA, and I'm one of the founding members of our wellness committee. And so that started back in 2012, if you can imagine that. You mentioned a key word, gratitude. So I personally have been a gratitude practitioner on an intentional basis since about 2019, where every single day, without fail, whether I document it or not, I'm taking time to list at least 3 things that I'm grateful for. And what that does is it centers me. It allows me to always have something to come back to, something to ground myself, and something to let me know that things are always working out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Neema. Anything else you'd like to add?
I'll also share that I've been the wellness director for NHA since 2019. And one of the best things about my role is that every single day I get to wake up and think about ways that I can help people find more health in their lives, but also create more joy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, which is one of the reasons why I thought you'd be so perfect for this conversation today. So really looking forward to your continuing to add. And Michael, how about yourself?
Yeah, I'll make it brief. St. Louis boy originally, Head Start kid. Always had a heart for serving people and wanted to see people be happy, but didn't know what that would look like. But growing up in sports, quickly transitioned to me running gyms and learning about that billion-dollar business, which, really helping people is like number 3 on the list. So as soon as I had an opportunity to work with individuals and private sector, and 12 years ago to work with the underserved, well-deserved communities in the form of school districts and NHA, for the better part of a decade. I've been serving people in mind, body, and spirit this whole time, and it continues to develop and evolve as I continue to grow, develop, and evolve.
Well, wonderful. Glad to have you both here for this conversation, and you both just add such wonderful benefits to our employees at the Neighborhood House Association. So we are just excited to have you with the organization and excited to have you in this conversation. So, Dr. Dre, I'm going to toss it over to you. I know we're going to break soon, but I think we have a little bit of time before we can.
Sure. Absolutely. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm glad to, again, to have Michael and Neema join us. So on this topic of boost morale, leading with and inspiring joy, Michael, I first start with you with this question. What does being in a state of or experiencing joy mean to you? I mean, enjoy, I don't know, one of those poo-poo words. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about this the wrong way, but for real terms, what does that mean to you?
Obviously people usually go to a feeling, but I would like to say it's a choice
Okay.
as well. Going back to Neema's gratitude and attitude of gratitude brings a feeling of consistent joy, regardless of what's going on outside yourself. So obviously people look outside themselves for something exciting to happen in their life for them to have joy. But for me, joy is an actual choice based on your actions and what you choose to focus your mind on.
Great. And Neema, I would also pose the same question to you. What does being in a state of or experiencing joy mean to you?
Well, once again, I have to co-sign what Michael said, and it is definitely an internal feeling. It's a knowing. And I think people oftentimes will interchange happiness and joy, but if you think of it like weather, happiness is like weather, whereas joy is like the climate. So it's something that is a state of being. It's a feeling that you exude, and it connects with your spiritual side, has to do with your sense of purpose, being aligned and being connected with your values.
Great. Love it. Thank you.
Yes, loving all of that. Thank you so much. We're going to take a short break. And when we return, we'll continue this conversation and hearing more about how does joy connect to morale in the workplace? How do we as leaders experience and help others experience more joy? So please stay with us, and we'll be right back with more on Leadership Matters with the People Doctors, informing leaders, inspiring solutions. And we are back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors. Here today with my co-host, I'm Dr. Sheryl White, your lead co-host for today. And also joining me is Dr. Loretta Howard and Dr. Undraye Howard. And we have two fabulous guests helping us to have this conversation about boosting morale, leading with and inspiring joy. I think before we went to break, we had each of you share a little bit about joy. And I think during the break, we were talking about and getting centered on what Neema had shared with regards to joy really coming from within and happiness being about circumstances. And Mike's comments with regards to that state of joy being a choice. And what do we choose? Dr. Loretta, I'm going to throw it back over to you to just kind of take us to our next space.
Okay. I'd like to thank both of the guests. I'm truly enjoying everything that I have heard so far. The question that I want to ask, and I'll start with you, Neema, is how might joy in the workplace impact employee morale?
Such a great question. So my approach with regard to our wellness program is that we take a holistic approach. And so we look at the whole person and we use the 9 dimensions of wellness. And so one of those things has to do with the atmosphere and the work environment. And so when you have a sense of joy in the workplace, the way that it can affect the morale is that, like we talked about before, you've set a tone for the culture, and a welcoming culture in particular. And you give people the opportunity to have that sense of fulfillment that comes with that state of joy, so that you're feeling connected to the work that you're doing. It's not just a job to you. You're connected with the mission. You have buy-in. And so those are some of the things that can help. And then just day to day, I think it can help in terms of temperament and people's sense of wanting to collaborate because they have that internal foundation of joy and they want to share it. I find that joy is a feeling that you want to share with others. So I think that especially having that tone being set from the top, from the leaders, is one of those ways that we can inspire a positive morale in the workplace.
Thank you so much, Michael. Same question to you. How might joy in the workplace impact employee morale?
I believe joy is contagious, and when you just like we pay attention, like when one person has a cantankerous attitude, how that can corrupt a space. And on the other end, when somebody brings joy to an environment, it really sets the tone for the whole space, and it really is contagious and gives people the opportunity to express joy, as well. Anytime I speak to people I'm serving, whether in a smaller group or larger group, I try to, tell people to be accountable for the attitude and energy they bring and realize that translates everywhere. And a lot of times you don't have to say anything. It's the energy behind what you're saying more so than what you're actually saying. So just being conscious, of, having a joyful attitude, and that attitude of gratitude really can transform a whole environment.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
So,
so much.
yeah, keeping with that thought, Michael. So how might the extent of joy that a leader is experiencing and actually expressing? Sometimes I might experience something. But to what extent does the extent to which a leader actually express it impact employee morale?
I think it gives people an opportunity. It's like when you're being yourself, you give an opportunity for other people to be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So when you express joy and make that a normal thing, like, expressing your successes or being happy that day, it gives other people permission to express happy. I know we have a problem. We always want to do the misery loves company. So we'll show up for each other's pity parties, and get on that. But, to set the tone of joy, let's celebrate each other's successes. I'm actually happy today. I'm happy about life, and guess what? Oh, I am too. So setting that tone for energy, I mean, it really, I think, make a difference. I think it's a powerful thing. I've actually gotten to see it, firsthand happen.
Awesome. Neema, anything you'd add?
I 100% agree. And I'm reminded of that statement about it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. And so when there is darkness, that one candle can be the light that can shine and illuminate a situation. And so, like Michael said, everything is about energy, and people pick up on that. And so that once again connects with that whole thing of an environment that, people walk into a space and they can feel that it's a welcoming place. They have a sense of belonging because they can feel that the people who are there have that energy of joy, that you're exuding it. It's something that you can't keep within you.
Great. I have to say, you said the word energy. I just want to piggyback on that. Dr. Dre, having worked with the Energy Project, kind of comes to mind with regards to one source of energy is emotional energy. And absolutely, as leaders express appreciation and give words that help employees feel valued, that certainly increases their emotional energy and the joy that one may be experiencing. It's really hard. And I think people come to work and they don't feel valued and appreciated. So I can value someone and I can appreciate them. But if I don't express it, then it doesn't necessarily have the power that it otherwise might have if I actually take the time to express that appreciation and value. So thank you.
So I wanted to jump in too with this next question. And Neema thank you for that candle piece. But what if you ain't got a candle? And so how might a leader increase the level of joy they're experiencing, even in the midst of the most challenging times?
This question is so timely because I'll share with you on a personal note. My father made his transition 3 months ago. And so I'm a joyous person. And simultaneously, I'm walking through my own personal grief. And I know that a lot of people are experiencing all kinds of things. As they say, everybody's going through something, right? But I think it comes back to that having that foundation of gratitude, of appreciation, of being able to find one thing to be grateful for and latch on to that, no matter how big or small. And again, it doesn't have to be the same for anybody, but just being able to find one thing and being able to walk in that duality, that two things can be true at the same time, that you can be experiencing joy and you can be experiencing tremendous challenge at the same time, but you come back to joy is the foundation of that. So I think that is one of those ways that a leader can demonstrate it by being present, by focusing on the things that you can control, managing your own mood, like I said, and as best you can, being that candle and being human. Once again, to, if you're not feeling your best, to let people know so that they can support you and give you grace, like Michael mentioned earlier.
That's great. Thank you, Neema, for sharing. Michael, the same question. How might a leader increase the level of joy they are experiencing in the midst of challenging times?
Yeah, with everything Neema said, and obviously, nobody wants to be a part of that fraternity of your family, your parents passing, but my dad passed a few years ago, so I can relate. Obviously, it's easier now, but it's never, you're never over it, So I get it, but the joy in the midst of grief is a real thing. It's back to when we're talking about joy, it really being a choice, the things that are unmovable, like peace, you see an ocean, the waves are crashing in, sense of life. But if you go down deep enough, there's always peace there. It's perfectly quiet. If you go deep enough, it's complete stillness. And that's the same thing with joy. There's a part of us that's unmovable, and there's certain tools within that. And the attitude of gratitude is the number one on that list. I literally every day, and it can be dogmatic, but I thank God for that I opened up my eyes this morning. I thank God for my breath, being able to hear, to see that I was able to physically get out of bed. And, if we lost any of those things, we lost our ability to see, even for an hour, how grateful we would be to be able to open up our eyes again. So when we have those foundations of those things we take for granted that we can lean upon, things that in reality we should be so grateful that it brings tears of joy to our eyes if we really leaned into it. But when those things are practiced and they are real, those things can get you through the toughest times in life, which I know we all can relate to.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you both for that. Very powerful. Very powerful.
Definitely appreciate you sharing your own personal issues and things that you have gone through. And to lose a parent, I can relate to that as well. So, but you do dig down deep and you find that foundation of joy. So I really appreciate all that you said. I know we are going to be going to a break soon, but I want to start out, Michael, if you would just share with us how a leader can help increase the level of joy that their employees will experience, even in the midst of challenging times.
Love that question. And Mike, when we come back, we're going to ask you to jump right in with regards to sharing your thoughts on that. And I'm sitting here pondering in very deep thought too, having lost both of my parents and having Neema talk about experiencing grief and joy at the same time.
Yes.
Everyone working through it in their own way. I can't remember the weirdest thing, going to Nordstrom's. Mom and I used to like to go to the cafe there. And after she passed away, there was a salad maker that my mother really liked. We were always excited when that particular person was there because she always did our salads just right. And when I would see her, one would think that the experience of seeing her after my mom passed would be one of joy, but I would just become very tearful. And to the extent that there were times that I just had to leave. I couldn't even stay. And then it got to the point where I could go through the line and I would order the same salad that she and I would order. We always would split our salads. We get our own soup and we had our own dessert. We probably should have been doing the opposite. But because that was the routine, I had to, I did that exact same thing even when she had passed. And then I would take what would have been her portions to her best friend, who probably was thinking, why are you taking this to me? Do I ask her, do you like this food? Miss Virginia probably wonders, why did she bring me this salad and this to this day? But she was always very gracious and probably knew I was grieving in my own way, but it gave me some joy to share with her what I had shared with my mother. So there was this joy and this pain and moving through it in my own way that, again, was probably very weird for Miss Virginia, but she extended me grace and took that food. I don't know if she ate it or not. I just dropped it off and went about our way. But anyway, when we return, we will ask Michael to respond to Dr. Loretta's question with regards to how might leaders increase the level of joy employees are experiencing even in the midst of challenging times. So please stay with us, and we will be right back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors, informing leaders, inspiring solutions. And we are back with more on Leadership Matters with the People's Doctors. I'm Dr. Sheryl White and delighted to have Dr. Loretta Howard and Dr. Undraye Howard with me today, and our fabulous guests, Neema Black and Michael Cothrine. Thank you, too, for being with us. And I'm going to just toss it right back over to you, Dr. Loretta.
Okay, as I said before we went on break, Michael, I want to start you off with how might a leader help increase the level of joy that their employees experience, even in the midst of challenging times?
Such a great question. I think starting with, the idea of putting the oxygen mask over yourself first. Yeah. Learning to really be that example, understanding that your energy translates. I grew up at a time where, my elders will say, do what I say, not what I do. But I don't think we can get away with that anymore. And first of all, putting the oxygen mask over yourself, making sure that you set the tone of energy of that vibration of joy and positivity. And then there's obviously, if you do that consistently, how do you do that? So giving your employees those tools that you use, the whatever it's the attitude of gratitude, having a gratitude list, like what are those things that you do to be consistent? Always be able to find that one thing I'm thankful for. And also encouraging accountability, among each other, creating a village, of, picking each other up when you're down. And we are going to celebrate each other's successes. So empowering them to be accountable, not just for their joy, but the joy for others around them. Because a lot of times it's easier for us to lift each other up, and what happens when we're lifting each other up, we end up feeling better,
Yes.
when we forget about our own problems, so that would be just a few things I think would be helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you. Miss Neema, would you also answer that question for us, please?
Yes, once again, I totally agree with everything Michael said. It is so funny how oftentimes people think of, there's that phrase, self-care being selfish, right? But really, that analogy of the oxygen mask is so true. And we really do, as leaders, have to be the model. And it's not about simply saying it, and human behavior shows us that more often than not, people are more often believed when they're actually doing the thing that they're telling others to do, walking the talk, as opposed to saying one thing but then not showing that same behavior. So absolutely, modeling it by practicing self-care, and then even just the things that you can do when it comes to like your meetings, for example, having a gratitude moment in your meetings. I know oftentimes when I'm doing presentations, I'll always have some type of quote there. I'll always give people an opportunity to have time to reflect on their own gratitude. And so those are just some of the things, as Michael mentioned, tools is, just finding activities that allow people to have that reflection time, and to focus on their own sense of gratitude and joy.
Wonderful. I love that. And I absolutely love incorporating that in meetings, either at the beginning or maybe even at the end, with regards to people even having an opportunity to express and share a statement of gratitude or appreciation. Neema, I'm going to keep with you and ask you, what do you hope for? That's a question we've been asking all of our guests. What is something that you hope for?
It's so funny. It can be a really lofty thing, or it can be something very simple. I would say at the most simple level, what I hope for is optimal health, because health is our wealth. But on a lofty level, what I hope for is for others to find their own sense of self-love, to know their own power, to know that they have the ability to do anything that they desire. And that includes having joy and choosing it. So I would love to see a world where more people choose to step into that embodiment.
Wonderful. Thank you. How about yourself, Mike?
In the time that we're in, same thing, that the self-love that people are finding, that a certain amount of just value in their own life, and that they would have enough within them to let others know, to not leave things unsaid, for us to be not lazy in our communication and expressing love and gratitude for one another. And that hopefully that enough of us, take on personal responsibility for our own lives and our own well-being, that we become the tipping scale of vibration to take this over the top compared to where we are right now as a collective society.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I'm realizing that I forgot to ask the second audience question, but throw it out there and see if we get some response, if anyone from it. It says, how does a supervisor continue to be encouraging to staff when they are constantly berated and discouraged by their manager? Any thoughts? Anyone wants to add to that, Dr. Dre, when I start?
I think that's a good one. It's a tough one. I love our audience questions. I mean, they really get tougher with these every time we pose those out. I think maybe again, this whole thing about drawing energy from, perhaps again going back to the team, drawing energy from the team success. When your own supervisor isn't providing you encouragement or motivation with the wins that you may be having or the growth that you've accomplished and the positive feedback. I think drawing the energy from the team success, that you're leading a great team. They've been able to measure success. They've been able to feel it and certainly operationalize it. I think is an important piece to think through. I think finding support elsewhere, whether it's on a spiritual level or a different level in terms of thinking about where you can find that support, whether it's with a peers, whether it's with a coach, a mentor, family, whatever it might be. I think that's the other piece that you can certainly consider as well. And then I think again we get to this whole question about there's limits too, right, to our humanness. So if you're not getting what you need from your own supervisor, sometimes it's just time to walk away, right? And I mean, I don't need this, and I think that's just being real. I think there are times we have to face that decision and make that decision and make that happen. So I would just add that to that particular question. So.
Thank you, Dr. Loretta. Anything you'd add?
Well, I agree with everything that Dr. Undraye said. Also, one thing I would add is I would not negatively talk about that manager in front of any of my direct reports or even their peers. I wouldn't say anything negative about them. I'd like to, what is it Michelle Obama used to say, we go high when they go low. I would really try to practice that. Again, finding the support that you would need, but something that Neema has said too about the self-care. I'm going to find some place where I can step back and take care of myself, my mental and my physical. And if I can't get what I need from that place, it's time to go. It is time to go because my peace of mind is more important to me than anything. And if you're going to keep berating me, it's like, okay, even if I try to look at it as constructive as possible, but at some point, like Dr. Dre said, you do have boundaries. And it's like, okay, it might be time for me to go. This is not an environment that is conducive to my health. And you have to know when to go.
Yeah, no, thank you both. And I'd say drawing that strength from within as well. I love the just the understanding of the difference that we talked about in the beginning between joy and happiness. Sometimes in the midst of situations that are miserable and there's not a lot of happiness, we can still find joy as we center on our own sense of gratitude and worth. And I will ask our guests if they like to add anything to that.
I would. And this one might be tough, but if you are familiar with the 4 agreements,
Yes.
And this one might be one of the hardest ones to keep,
Mhm.
which is don't take it personally. And
Mhm.
so oftentimes, the things that people are doing has more to do with them. And even though it might be difficult to be on the receiving end of that, when you know that it's not necessarily you,
Mhm.
then I think that can help you to shift your focus and to focus on the tasks at hand and making
Mhm.
sure that you're still leading your team to do the things that they need to do. And then also not letting the poop roll downhill, as the expression goes, so you're not taking it out on your people, but instead, again, focusing on what is the actual work. And
Mhm.
then also, if the relationship can be salvaged, having that conversation to see if there is any improvement that can be done with the communication with the person who is your manager. Like you both have said, sometimes you see that it's time to cut your losses and move on. And if it's a situation where that can't be resolved, however, it could just be that it's the person's communication style, but I would get curious and see, well, is there any truth to what it is that they're saying? Is there any grain of truth that I can grab from what this person is saying, even if I don't like the way that they're saying it to me?
Mhm. Thank you. Love that.
Good
And
point.
reminds
Good
me of that the Q-tip. Quit taking it personal. So how can I step back far enough to where I can give myself what I need to give and recognize when something's someone else's issue? Mike, anything you'd add?
Just super briefly, ditto, ditto, ditto to Dr. Loretta, Dr. Dre, and Neema, but yeah, on the point that Neema said, that realizing that it is a projection, that it has nothing to do with you is very powerful. Even when somebody has like a cantankerous energy, it's hard not to take that in, like not take it personal, but realize, be able to step back and realize that it's a projection is powerful, but also really being honest with yourself on not compromising your well-being, as
Mhm.
Dr. Dre said and Loretta said, that like having the courage to know when it's time to go, and not allowing yourself to your own demise to come, but realizing a courageous thought is also, it is a catalyst for your growth.
Mhm.
No matter what the outcome of it, it might be time to go, but realizing this person is giving you an opportunity to build more self-esteem, more confidence, more ways to communicate, and also, if need be, to make a courageous choice to move on.
Mhm. Great. Thank you. Thank you
Mm.
all for sharing that. We're going to take our last break, but when we come back, we'll ask you each to maybe share some final thoughts and your thoughts with regards to what brings you joy. And so please stay with us. We'll be right back with more on Leadership Matters, informing leaders, inspiring solutions. And we are back with more on Leadership Matters with the People Doctors. I'm going to throw it right over to you, Dr. Dre.
Thank you. What a wonderful conversation. This is great, motivating. I'm encouraged. This is powerful.
Yeah.
So continuing on with the boosting morale, leading with and inspiring joy. Question to you, Michael, and to Neema. What brings you joy? If you've been asked that question before, I'm sure, but what brings you joy?
Uh, I'll have to say I'm a grown kid for life.
Okay.
You're reading the Bible, having a childlike nature,
Yeah.
but just realizing the truth in that, to never lose like the light and playfulness, like literally I grew up in a family that me and my mom, we have a Scrabble tournament ongoing for the last 30 years.
Right.
And those simple things like playing sports, like the little things, watching a movie. Like I have a list of things like when we get busy, sometimes you have to start putting it on your schedule. So I literally do that. I put, even if it's for 5 minutes, things that allow me to bring me joy, which are usually things of a playful nature,
Yeah.
of a childlike nature.
Wow. That's cool, Mike. Thank you. Neema, how about you?
Once again, I agree with Michael. We are very much kindred spirits in that regard. And so for me, I love my sense of awe. So whether it's being in nature, I'm an avid hiker. I also love being at the ocean, just reflecting on God's magnificence and all that is there around us for our enjoyment, connecting with family, doing things that make me happy actually help me to have that sense of joy. But definitely just having that feeling of being so grateful that it brings you to tears. That's something that brings me joy.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you both for that. Appreciate that.
Very good. Okay, well, I know we're getting near the end of the show, but final thoughts that you might have that you would want to share with our listening audience. Let's start with you, Miss Neema.
Oh, that is something that I would say start small. So if you do not have a gratitude practice currently, allow yourself to start with the most simple of things, especially those things that we take for granted, like Michael mentioned earlier. Just the fact that you have your eyesight, for example, being grateful for all of the millions of functions that are happening in our body without us even knowing it. We don't even think about it, but our body knows to breathe, our heart knows to pump. So just finding that gratitude in those small, small things, and then it can extend to those larger things. And as the saying goes, what we appreciate appreciates. So I think that's what I would like to leave with people.
Wonderful. Thank you. And what about you, Michael?
I want to add on to what Neema mentioned about starting small. I have something called just touch it rule, that you're not trying to win a whole marathon in a day. So those things that'll add to your life, whether it's an exercise or whether it's eating a little bit better, or whether it's doing something of joy, just getting it down to the nominal of like even taking 30 seconds, 1 minute to do something you enjoy. Do one squat, do one push up, eat one vegetable just to break through the inertia of doing the things that you should be doing that don't happen, that you need to make a non-negotiable. And lastly, realize, I just want everybody to know that your life matters, and
Yes.
that somebody's going to be so glad that you didn't give up on your life. There's been times when I'm trying to get out of my way if I'm trying to do something that's uncomfortable outside my comfort zones. And I only step into that just in case, because somebody might be blessed by what I have to say or the energy I have, and who am I not to show up. So somebody's going to be so glad that you didn't give up on yourself. So just know that your life matters.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Dr. White. Dr. White, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I was having a real good conversation with myself.
You were. It looked like it was.
Love the thought that knowing that our life matters, that each person knowing that they matter is great. Michael and Neema, if our listening audience wanted to connect with you to learn more about you, your body of work, your offerings, how might they get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm at linkedin.com/Neema-Black-MS. You can also email me hello@neemablack.com. Also, one of the things that I do outside of the corporate wellness is that I actually teach people how to transition to plant-based eating. And I teach people through a course called the Vegan Curious Cooking Academy. So it's a 4-week course where people can come and learn how to find out about plant-based nutrition, and then they actually get to cook with me virtually. I'm in my kitchen and they're in their kitchen. So that's something that I offer to people who are interested in learning how to improve their health through plant-based eating. So once again, you can find out more about that through my email.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Michael, how about
Thank you.
yourself?
That's awesome, Neema. And super simple. Go to mikesfitfamily.com and email me directly at mike@mikesfitfamily.com.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Dr. Dre, Dr. Loretta, any final thoughts?
Just for me, I have enjoyed this so much and appreciate all the information and advice that you both have shared with us. You've given me some things to think about, because sometimes when we're caught up in the mix of something going on, we don't think about that stepping back and just the little things, starting with the small things, that gratitude and the choice we make, whether to be have joy or not. So it's something that I was glad to hear it. It reinforces, but it reminds me I need to do that, because I don't always. Sometimes you need someone to tell you again, you know what you should do, so do it. So thank you so much for reminding me I need to do that.
Absolutely. Just wonderful, Neema, Michael. I mean, this has been powerful. For me, it was just a reminder of making sure I just take some time around that gratitude, that joy, and the happiness, and not get caught up in the transactional stuff that means nothing at the end of the day. So I really appreciate the reminder. And again, I'm going to put it into my daily calendar to make sure I etch out time for that gratitude and finding happiness and joy as well. So just wonderful. So I appreciate both of you for what you offered up. So.
Yes,
Thank you both.
so much.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, again, Neema Black, Director of Wellness with the Neighborhood House Association, and Michael Cothrine, Wellness Specialist and founder and owner of Mike's Fit Family. Thank you both for being with us, and thank you to my co-hosts, Dr. Loretta Howard and Dr. Undraye Howard. Just been a joy and pleasure. And thank you so much to our listening audience for tuning in. We invite you to send us topics that you're interested in or questions to Leadership Matters at innovisions.org. Again, that's Leadership Matters questions, no spaces, at innovisions, innovisions.org. Please join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or download our podcast at your convenience. Until next time, keep on keeping on for the greater.